develop that course. Chris Gill, who's it for?
Well, it's for people who are working largely in ombudsman organisations or who are specialist frontline complaint handlers in a range of organisations. So it could be people working in banks, it could be people working...
There's a lot of emails from the same person. What do you advise on that?
Well, absolutely. I think Twitter's really interesting. As a consumer myself, I've used it to complain, and I have found it more effective than traditional use of complaining.
Because they have teams of people who monitor the Twitter comments.
Well,
it's extraordinary, yet they often these same companies, as I said, can't answer an email.
I think it's really interesting, and what it sort of shows, I think, and Jasper talked about shift. Now, I think that one of the issues is how do you make sure there's equity between people going on Twitter and the people who are using more traditional routes.
Jasper, very briefly if you would, because we're almost out of time, what's your most successful and original complaining method?
I'm afraid I'm very old-fashioned. I still stick to old-fashioned letters I like to write to somebody.
Now, I think that one of the issues is how do you make sure there's equity between people going on Twitter and the people who are using more traditional routes.
Jasper, very briefly if you would, because we're almost out of time, what's your most successful and original complaining method?
I'm afraid I'm very old-fashioned. I still stick to old-fashioned letters I like to write to somebody.
Toby Wood has just tweeted about memories. When I was a primary teacher in the 1970s and 80s, that Argos catalogue was the very best maths book. It was colourful and it was free, and I found it invaluable. That's it from us for today. It's Call You and Yours Tomorrow, our weekly phone-in programme, and we want to know how...
Thanks, Howard. Well, it certainly is. We've got high pressure with us, so the cold weather's set to stay for another day at least before we see a change later in the week to windier weather. Also some rain on the way actually later in the week, but for the time being it's high pressure that's firmly in charge of our weather, and that means more of that fine winter sunshine for most parts of the British Isles, and because the sun is so weak at this time of the year after such a cold night,